crying and Donald Trump just put me in therapy. See you in a minute. Good evening. The full-scale mental meltdown of left-wingers has steamed into a second day. Our Deputy Prime Minister won't be happy that this clip has resurfaced.
He's an absolute buffoon and he's an absolute disgrace, and so is Boris Johnson for not being able to even know his own rules.
There we go. The newsagent's Lewis Goodall, dressed up like a pound shop John Lennon tribute act, he's absolutely gutted.
But this is what I think in the long term for the health of American democracy is so devastating and is perhaps the biggest worry of all. He has been returned to office, not just returned to office, he's been returned to office with an enormous mandate. And what signal, what message does that send to future generations of politicians now?
The Liberal Democrats are genuinely upset about the result of a Democratic vote.
I am devastated by this result, utterly devastated. But my goodness, this is a dark day for our democracy, for our world, and for the future of the United States.
OK. Still, they refused to accept the result of another Democratic vote in 2016, didn't they? The Green Party, well, they're green with sickness.
I know that, like me, many of you will be feeling fearful this morning. So on this dark day, I want to say that we stand in solidarity with all those who dreaded this moment and must now live with its consequences, including those in Gaza and Ukraine.
The US late-night talk show hosts are literally in tears.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate.
And at The Guardian, and I am not joking now, OK, they are offering for their staff to go to therapy. So their editor, Catherine Viner, reportedly sent an all-staff email saying, if you're not in the US, do contact your American colleagues to offer your support. It's upsetting for many others too. And if you want to talk about it, your manager and members of the leadership team are all available as the people team. There is also free access to free support services, which I've outlined at the end of this email. Apparently that included a little bit of therapy. Well, I've actually got news for you. So The Guardian held their first staff therapy session today. They did it over Zoom because making staff come into the office would offend their pronouns. But I managed to hack into The Guardian's group therapy meeting and I recorded it for you. Do you want to see it? Well... You've got to feel for them, haven't you? Now, US Hollywood actors and actresses are apparently fleeing Tinseltown to come and live in Britain. Barbie actress America Ferrara, me neither, is set to relocate to the UK. Well, I've been on Rightmove, actually, for you, Miss Ferrara, and it turns out that this place in Portsmouth is going really cheap. It's a doer-upper, but I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah. Then you've got the former political advisor to Labour, John McTernan. Good old John, a regular here on GBNews, tweeting out that Elon Musk bought the US election. Well, unfortunately for John, Community Notes revealed that the Democrats actually spent about twice as much as Trump on political advertising. And since October, Kamala Harris received about 3 times as much in donations than Trump. What do you think Angela Rayner would have to say to John about that gaffe?
He's an absolute buffoon.
Let's just spare another thought for the insufferable Marsh family, whose kids look like they have to be homeschooled for their own protection. They churned out this rubbish.
Donald's a danger man. Watch him turn the country red, just an ego off its head. Donald's no Republican.
Shall we just ask Angela Rayner what she thinks of the parents in that clip?
They're both idiots and we deserve better than...
OK. I mean, I must say, I prefer this musical offering. You know what? All right, there we go. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. This evening is Telegraph columnist and parliamentary sketch writer Madeline Grant. We have the Tory peer Lord Bailey and ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larzer. I mean, this meltdown is absolutely joyous to behold, isn't it, Madeline?
Well, actually, I initially found it quite funny, but now I'm actually starting to feel a bit sorry for example, OK, The Guardian... Hear me out.
Right.
OK, can you imagine being so upset about a foreign country's election outcome that you're, you know, depressed and in need of therapy?
No.
Like, I care about politics. I follow politics very closely, but, like, the idea that it would affect your day-to-day mental health, what happens in another country's electoral outcome, is just insane to me. And I feel sorry for anyone that is that invested. You know, live a life, go and see your friends, go for a walk, talk to your mum. You know what I mean?
Across the first problem there, to be honest. Sure, I mean, have you ever seen anything quite like this? I mean, you know, we've got it all here, haven't we? The Liberal Democrats are unable to accept one of the largest expressions of democracy that the world sees.
You asked the question, have we seen something like this before? Absolutely. Brexit. So the reaction was the same. But it is a serious point to be made. Who the American people pick for their president is entirely and only a question for them. The Guardian is meant to be a newspaper. Their response to this means you can absolutely forget any notion of balance in their reporting. So they've now become a political fanzine, not a newspaper, which is a shame because some of their analysis would be useful. That's the third piece. Actually, I think it's wrong to make young people feel this vulnerable over something they have. They should try to boost their resilience, not make them look like they need therapy. I think it's ridiculous. But the most important thing about this, right, to insult voters is why the left have lost and will continue to lose. If you're an American today and these people have told you you're stupid, you don't understand, you're racist, much how we Keir Starmer dealt with the riots over here, what do they think will happen next time? The next Trump will win bigger. That's what makes Trump right. Their patronising nature is what makes Trump right.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolute full-frontal Trump derangement syndrome, isn't it, Matthew? Especially from The Guardian, it seems.
Well, I think that there was a little over the top for The Guardian to do that, but at least it's The Guardian, not the BBC. It's been paid for by those people who buy the paper or give them a donation because they're not behind a paywall. Look, I actually felt yesterday absolutely, gutted. I think it's very bad, not just for America. I think it's bad for Britain, and I think it's bad for the world. I'm particularly worried about what's going to happen in Ukraine. So, I kind of had that feeling. But you're absolutely right that it's not for anybody to tell another country what they should or shouldn't have done. That's why I think the responses which say, I'm worried, I'm concerned, I'm worried about what's going to happen on a particular issue, be it Ukraine, be it tariffs, are going to impact on British jobs. That's one thing. I think to sort of go into a complete meltdown, and basically tell the American people they're wrong is another. You can't criticise the electorate.
I do think that we have a bit of an issue in British journalism and British politics where we are sort of America-brained, where I know loads of journalists who follow the American elections probably more closely than they follow our own elections. And I think we saw a glimpse of that in that wonderful clip with the head of the Green Party, whose name I
Carla Denyer.
Carla Denyer, thank you.
She's not a household name in
But the wonderful grandiosity of her putting out a statement to all the American women who are worried and in solidarity with Ukraine. It's like, I mean, I cover politics and I struggle to remember her name.
Can I just say one of the things I'm finding absolutely fascinating about all of this is that now we are seeing people, from the Democrat side, who are now blaming women and ethnic minorities. They're saying, and this is a common thing that people are saying out there, Sean, I hope you don't mind me putting this to you, that amongst the Hispanic and the black community, there's so much misogyny that they would never have elected a woman. Hang on a minute, isn't that kind of some kind of lazy, ridiculous trope?
It's lazy, ridiculous, racist trope.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why Trump won.
Yeah.
This underlying feeling that we don't know what we're doing and we're wrong if we don't do what they want is offensive. Our communities have as much agency as their community, and to be treated as so offensive. But the other thing, which the Lib Dem leader, I think, struck upon, and Sadiq Khan did it again as well, they demonise. And that is dangerous for our democracy. They demonise. It means that candidates become under risk. They've made it personal. I remember when in the mayoral election, Sadiq Khan called his opponent, Susan Hall, the most dangerous candidate ever. The Lib Dem leader, Sadiq Khan, has said that Londoners are worried. Londoners are not worried about Trump. They're not worried about Trump. And the technical point that needs to be made as well, yes, Trump has not been the most careful-tongued politician in the world, but actually most of his policies were quite benign, were quite centrist, were quite soft. They definitely weren't in the extreme that they could have been, and certainly not how they're spoken about.
What do you reckon about John Lennon there, Matthew, who was talking about... Sorry, Lewis Goodall, who was talking about how, he's above the law now. Oh, this is it, he can do whatever he wants. He's above the law. I mean, sorry, it's just...
Well, I think it's... I mean, I think Maddie's hit the nail absolutely on the head. When I was at the BBC, and I got carried away, I used to try and, get every trip to go and cover, manage to go and cover the primaries. And then one of the deputy editors said, hang on, there are millions of British people of Indian heritage. Why don't we do the Indian election, which has a lot more voters and is the world's biggest election? So why don't we go and spend more time on that? Yesterday, the German coalition collapsed, which is going to have much more direct impact in many ways on Britain. So I think there's a bit of an America obsessive, because who doesn't like to stand looking over the White House in a pair of shades looking like John Lennon?
I think
Rory Stewart's made a fool of himself, which frankly left and right can agree on. It's quite entertaining.
Florence of Belgravia has mugged himself off big time.
I'm surprised that he wasn't in the clips that you showed. I thought he'd be... Did you do him yesterday?
Yes. I did him yesterday, and then I think he probably got more money than me, so, I didn't want to get that legal letter. But, no, I stand by it. I mean, to be honest, it's ridiculous. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again. A lot of these people don't like other people. They don't... What he likes, like Lewis Goodall and co, is sitting next to Emily Maitlis and John Sopel, overlooking the White House or wherever they were, with the sun beating down and those lovely John Lennon-style shades on. I don't particularly think he likes going out and about to northern working-class towns and speaking to people on the ground, unless he's there to go and make them look stupid. And then I think that's part of the battle for them, I think, really. But, look, where do we go from here, really? Because I think that a lot of the left-wing... I mean, the mask has slipped. If there ever was a mask, Sean, the mask has completely gone now. Trump derangement syndrome is rife now amongst both lovely celebrities and, indeed, the media in this country.
I think there's some important things. The left in America, and I would argue here, have a blind spot around working-class communities, around ethnic communities. What's interesting about Trump's win, black men, black women, Mexicans, women voted for Trump. And there's an assumption on the left that they own that vote, and that's a problem. They don't own the vote. That's a problem. But politics aside, the left have to learn how to listen. The reason I made a comment about The Guardian, sometimes that left perspective on a thing is an important perspective, but it's only important if you don't demonise that other side.
And we should remember that the person who went most deranged after the last election was, of course, the next president himself, with his completely unfounded lies about
where have those
election.
15 million votes gone? Remarkable, isn't it, when you look at that voting data? It appears as though 15 million people... But it's a lot of people to just stay at home, but...
Not at all. They've just fought a plague on both of your houses. That's why I make the point about demonisation. Demonisation makes politics dangerous, it brings us closer to violence, and it means people just check out.
They're repeating the mistakes. The danger is that the people on the left here repeat the mistakes that the American left have done.
Just on that, so we're about to show you a clip a little bit later on of Keir Starmer being basically swerved by all and sundry, like they didn't know who he was and they thought he was there to fix the cattle or something when he turned up at this...
I'm sure it's
event.
harsh.
Well, it weren't there for him, were they? It was there for everyone else. But he has now got his entire premiership with a Trump administration, basically, from now on. That's going to be tricky for him. I mean, we've just managed to find another Angela Rayner clip there. Absolute buffoon!
I think that Lambie may have a difficult time of it.
He's in for the next 5 years. Was Starmer right to say that Lambie is going to be his foreign secretary for the next 5 years?
Well, I'm not sure whether that will actually turn out to be the case.
But that's a lie, then, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
it could be
at the moment. Events change as things stand at the moment. I think he's ill-advised to give a commitment to any cabinet minister for 5 years, because you don't know what's going to happen. Whether they're going to be proved good in the job, whether they're going to have personal issues or whatever.
OK, all right. Well, there we go. Look, there was a lot to go at that. We will be seeing you again for the front pages.